Okay, so today we're diving into this incredible world, the Book of Hungry Ghosts. And let me tell you, it's this lyrical, totally brutal dark fantasy that's gonna make you rethink everything you thought you knew about monsters and what it really means to get justice. So, you know how old fantasy maps have that little warning, here there be monsters? Well, this story kicks off by taking that idea and just flipping it completely upside down. It tells us right from the get-go that the real monsters, they aren't hiding out in the scary, uncharted parts of the world. Nope, they're right at the center of it all. So the question isn't if they exist, but where they've been hiding this whole time, right under our noses.
And right there, that's the absolute core of this book. The real horror here isn't some beast with claws and fangs. It's the quiet, administrative evil of colonization. The kind that's hidden away in legal contracts and fancy ledgers. The paperwork that turned actual human beings into property.
So to really get a grip on the women who stand up to these monsters, we first have to talk about where they live. Because this place, it's not just a setting. It's a living, breathing character in its own right. And the world building, it's just incredible. The island is called Redtongue, and that name isn't just a cool label, it's this raw, constant reminder of a bloody history. See, the soil is super rich in iron, so every single time it rains, the ground literally bleeds red. It makes it crystal clear that the land itself has a memory, and it hasn't forgotten a thing. And you have to understand, this place plays by its own set of supernatural rules. This is not a world where the past just fades away. Oh no, it is alive, it's angry, and it is screaming to be heard. Even the forest, they call it the Bellwoods. It basically eats time and space, running on the logic of a good story, not a ticking clock. So you gotta ask, who could possibly thrive in a place like this? Well, that's where our protagonists come in. They're witches, but probably not the kind you're picturing. Forget the brooms and cauldrons. Their magic? It's knowledge. It's memory. It's the sheer power of witnessing. They are the bookkeepers for all the debts history tries to forget.
And these witches, they're all from one seriously formidable family, 3 generations of them. First up, you've got Grandmother Mercy, and trust me, her name is pure irony. Then there's Mother Augustina, the patient killer, and finally, Daughter Soledad, who is never, ever alone. Each one has her own unique brand of power, so let's break them down one by one.
Okay, let's start with the matriarch, Mercy. Her power is raw, it's physical, and it comes from a philosophy that is just absolutely brutal. As a child, she was given a choice, and it's a choice that changed everything for her. She decided right then and there to be the predator, to be the wolf that bites back when the world tries to take a piece of you. So, what does she do with that power? Well, over the last 60 years, she has literally eaten 23 men. And these aren't just random guys. We're talking overseers, priests, merchants, the very men who wrote those monstrous contracts. This isn't just mindless violence. It's a kind of horrifying but very specific justice. So, Mercy's style of justice is fast and, let's be honest, pretty savage. But her daughter Augustina, she takes a totally different route. Think of it this way. If Mercy is the wolf's bite, then Augustina, she's the slow-acting poison. Her power is all about careful, patient, meticulous revenge. And get this, she was married to the exact kind of man her mother hunts, a colonial clerk who used paperwork as a weapon, a guy whose elegant handwriting was responsible for stealing land and destroying lives. He was the system. I mean, the level of patience here is just mind-blowing. For 23 years, she played the part of the perfect, obedient wife. And then, one night, she discovers what he's really been up to. And what does she do? She spends the next 2 years slowly, methodically poisoning him. It was so perfectly done that his death was just chalked up to natural causes. So why go to all that trouble? Because in his locked office, she found the proof. She found his true legacy, 47 files, each one detailing a young girl he had sold into sexual slavery. Her cold, calculated revenge was the perfect answer to his cold, calculated evil. And that brings us to the 3rd generation, Soledad. Now, her power isn't about violence at all. It's about her connection to the victims. She is, in a word, the witness. Soledad's story is incredible. She was born from her living mother and the ghost of a murdered sailor. So she literally exists halfway between the living and the dead. And that's her curse, but it's also her power, to hear the never-ending cries of the dead, all of them demanding to be heard. And she's actually figured out a way to manage it. The ghosts, they never stop, so she's become their storyteller. She listens to all their stories of love, of loss, of how they were wronged. And then she tells those stories back to an audience of other ghosts. And in doing that, she gives them a kind of peace, the peace of finally being heard. And the sheer scale of this, it's just immense. By the time our story starts, she has listened to, recorded, and retold 5,111 stories, all from the forgotten dead. She's basically a living, breathing archive of all the injustice the world wants to forget. So you've got these three incredible women, these three totally different kinds of power. How does it all fit together? Well, they're all driven by the exact same thing, a deep, gnawing hunger for justice in a world that just won't give it. And what's so brilliant is how their powers work together. You've got Mercy's raw physical vengeance, you've got Augustina's slow, methodical justice that takes down the system from the inside, and then you have Soledad, whose power of testimony makes sure no victim is ever truly erased. They're not just three women. Together, they're a complete system for correcting a broken world. And this really sums up how they see themselves. They don't think they're monsters. They believe they've earned the right to judge because the world judged them first. For what? For refusing to be quiet, for refusing to be small, for refusing to be consumed? And this really gets us to the heart of the whole novel, the big question it leaves you with. When the very laws that are supposed to protect people are actually being used to hurt them, what does justice even look like anymore? Seriously, what would you do? Because in the end, the story's big takeaway is this. The most powerful weapon isn't a wolf's teeth, and it's not a wife's poison. It's remembering. It's telling the stories that others want to bury. Because when you live in a world built on lies, just telling the truth, well, that's the most powerful, most radical thing you can possibly do.